You're just salty, man. Cope. You probably got a ban. Yes, I'm definitely salty and I'm in my full right to be so. Not because I got a ban from two mods abusing their powers. I can easily create another account. But because the sub claims to be a pro-democratic, secular, kemalistic, open-minded sub that stands as one of the last bastions of freedom of speech in Turkey, while being an anti-democratic, fascist, and racist echo chamber silencing and gaslighting people of different opinions in order to ban people. This does involve stalking, slandering, and insulting the person in different subs, and this is in fact encouraged by the mods, who do take part in this gigantic cesspool. I may be salty, but I'm primarily doing this in order to shed light to the corner of the internet which is filled with incels, and sadly, there are enough innocent people with questions related to Turkey going to our Turkey just to get insulted and humiliated upon. And if you're someone along the lines of, I knew it, I always saw Turks that way on our Europe. Congratulations, you're the same bullcrap, just in a different subreddit. What I'm about to say is not limited to our Turkey, but quite a number, if not all, remotely political subs. However, I was mostly active on our Turkey, and as such, I'm gonna show the two-faced bullcrap that is present in this particular subreddit. Don't get me wrong, you can find decent people on our Turkey and some quality content, but most of it, as well as most of its users, simply aren't. And after publishing this video, that subreddit is going to be the last place I will be at. So let's get started and see how secular, kemalistic, open-minded, and pro-freedom of speech this sub actually is. Circus number 1. I'm better than other Turks. I'm better than Turks in Germany. Now, there are some videos of certain Turks that were born in Germany or that migrated later on to Germany and act in Turkey in the way of, yeah, Europe is about to die and Turkey is heaven, nephew. I don't have to tell you why this is disrespectful bullcrap. However, suddenly all Turks in Turkey are not only more educated and well mannered than all Turks in Germany, regardless of the fact that the German education system is one of the best while the Turkish education system is mediocre, suddenly all Turks in Germany are dumb. They don't know how to speak German in Germany. And if you want a source, don't worry, dude. I asked my right wing friends in Germany. They told me so. Just to show some of the posts, this was roughly at the beginning of May this year, this was from 3 years ago, this was from 8 months ago, and this is from 2 years ago. So this is not a niche topic I deliberately picked, but a subject that keeps reappearing. This is a general issue. Now let's see some of the comments and the general sentiment of these comments. To make matters a bit more comprehensive, I will refer to Turks from Germany as Almancıs. Almancıs have a tribal mentality and they are pro-HKP, unlike us in the US. Most of them are uneducated. They don't even know how to speak German, and I'm talking about the third generation of Turks. Just as a side note, you do need to graduate from school in Germany and you have to attend school until you get your graduation. And literally no one can graduate without knowing German. That's just not possible. They are uneducated and with a 20th century mentality. They are the reason why Turks have a bad reputation. They destroy our reputation. They vote left in Europe and right in Turkey. Many are radical Islamists. They vote for the HKP. They are uneducated. This post was deleted, but original poster mistranslated the post of someone else in order to slander Almancıs. The post was about the hardship Almancıs had to go through, which was translated along the lines of, look how they are accusing Germans of racism. But let's continue. A lot of them are just dumb. They are against us. Now, since these people are obviously super smart, educated, and well mannered, they don't need to research about the bullcrap they are spreading. So I will do their job instead. So let's see what is true about any of that. This paper, for example, was published by Professor Dr. Thomas Krupp. I'm just going to take one example since the remaining examples are along the same results. During the November 2015 election, there were roughly 1.5 million Almancıs that could vote. Out of these 1.5 million, 570,000 voted. That's a voter turnout of roughly 41%. Out of these 570,000 people, roughly 60% voted for the HKP. Let's do some math. 60% out of 570,000 people are roughly 350,000 people. Considering that roughly 1.5 million were able to vote, that's roughly 24% of the Turks in Germany having the right to vote in Turkey, actually voting for Erdogan. Apparently, this justifies slandering and shit-talking all of them. If you consider that there are also Turks or people of Turkish origin that have the German citizenship, then that's roughly 350,000 out of 3 to 4 million people, which equals to roughly 9 to 12% of the Almancıs voting for Erdogan. However, Gigabrain sees 60% and equates this as the majority of the Turks or people of Turkish origin that vote for Erdogan in Germany. Now, they might be wrong about the voter turnout, but surely the rest is right. It can't be that the superior galactic Übermensch of superior sperm just made all of that up in order to feel superior, right? The subject of voting behavior of Almancıs is covered in this article from 2017. The article states that the overwhelming majority of Almancıs that can participate in the election in Germany do vote for the SPD. Roughly 70% feels close to the SPD, roughly 13% for the Grünen, and roughly 6% for CDU. SPD is a center-left party, and they were in a coalition for roughly 10 to 15 years with a center-right party in Germany, namely the CDU. If you go any more right than that, you end up with Nazis. So what these people don't understand is the fact that the SPD is more known to be for the rights of the workers, which is why they get more votes by the Turks that are part of the working class. Shocking! I know. It's as if you're supposed to vote for parties that represent your best interests. Who could have imagined that? However, SPD is labeled as a left party in Germany, which is also stated in the article. What Gigabrain don't understand is the fact that the political spectrum in Germany is different than the political spectrum in Turkey. Center-right in Turkey means Islamic conservatism and nationalism. In Germany, no one knows what the F it means. I could further expand on why the CDU is not as much liked by, for example, referring to Rezo, but that's a different topic. Likewise, left in Turkey means HDP and more communism and PKK support. In Germany, the left goes from center-left parties that are against the PKK to left parties that actively do support the intentions of the PKK, including an article published by the Grünen that are openly supporting the HDP. But don't tell this to any German politicians because they don't want to have Turkish politics on German ground. Even though in this case it's German politicians bringing Turkish politics to Germany, but evil bird country must remain evil. Long story short, Gigabrain thinks that voting right in Germany would make sense because why shouldn't Turks vote for a party that are somewhat hostile to the interests of Turks in Germany, right? But surely worker class in case of Almancıs means dumb, right? That's equally and factually wrong. In the research done by the Bundesamt für Migration und Flüchtlinge, aka official German institution, this graph was discovered. The upper part represents the education level of the first and second generation of Turks, the lower part shows the same but divided among Turkish and German citizens. Let's stick to the upper part. One thing becomes apparent, roughly half of the first generation had mid to high education level. In the second generation, this number increased to roughly 60%. Now some of you might say that there is still a considerable amount of first and second generation of Turks without education. However, this does include cases where the education received from Turkey was not acknowledged in Germany. So from the second generation onwards, the accusation of Almancıs in general not having an education falls apart. But maybe this changed with the third generation, right? Apparently not knowing German is common enough for some Germans to notice it, right? Well, I couldn't find a specific study of the education level of third generation of Turks, but I did find such a study in regards to third generation Turks living in Baden-Württemberg. This is obviously not representative for all Turks across Germany, but it's not wrong that the education level of people increased from generation to generation anyways, and if you have a better source, feel free to share it. Either way, this was reported by the Ministry of Integration of Baden-Württemberg. What becomes apparent is that 21% of the third generation of Turks have no education, 32% are in apprenticeship, 42% are doing a Berufsschule or Fachhochschule, which is something like learning a job, the rest are in colleges. The first thing Gigabrain might say is, every fifth third generation Turk is dumb. Common sense and a bit of reading will tell you that a lot of Turks at the time of the study were too young in order to finish school and were still attending school. If we look at the general development of third generation people attending college, it's safe to say that the percentage will likely exceed 15%, at the very least 11%. So again, the accusations are completely falling apart. Additionally, keep in mind that the work environment in Germany is entirely different than in Turkey. You don't have to attend university in order to receive a respectable position within the German workforce. That's not necessarily the case for Turkey. For example, Germany has something called duales Studium, where you receive education and work for a specific company in a, let's say, 6-week cycle. You not only get the necessary education, but also the experience to directly work for the company, and usually over 90% of the people doing duales Studium also receive great job offers from the company. This is not equivalent to college, and something like this does not really exist in Turkey. But Sefa, if Turks are relatively integrated, then why do Germans hate Turks? And why do we never hear good things about Almancıs at all? Because first, people don't hate Turks, the criminal background of people of Turkish origin was definitely a problem and a fact, and a lot of Turks might have been uneducated for the years prior, but imagine, time moves on. We do not live in the 1980s anymore. And second, there's a gigantic list of famous Turks on Wikipedia with hundreds of names going from music, sports and religion up to royalty, politics and business. The reason why you don't hear anything about them is because they work in specific industries, and when something is said about them, it is, and this is gonna come with a very big surprise, in German. Yes, famous Turks in Germany are exclusively making news in Germany, in the German language. And unless you follow German media, you will not hear about Almancıs from Germany. There are some international examples like Mesut Özil or Uğur Şahin or Özlem Türeci, CEOs of BioNTech, not Mesut Özil but the latter. But aside from that, local figures are gonna make local news. I know this is really hard to believe, however, this should be more than enough to tell the last gigabrain the role the Turkish community has taken in Germany. There are still lacking corners, and I'm not gonna pretend that everything is fancy, but one big topic I have yet to point at is, for example, racism that stretches across all generations. I was personally fortunate enough not to experience it, but not a lot of, if not the majority of Turks in Germany. This goes from humiliating medical checkups back when the first Turks arrived, up to the UN accusing Germany of institutional racism. Because plot twist, as much as I like Germany, it does not change the fact that racism is to a certain degree still present. It is still a fantastic country, and Germany is forever going to have a spot in my heart, but it is not right to hide the hardship millions of people had to go through because the German government couldn't bother to care. As you can see, these open-minded Western Democrats do lack a little bit of research, but maybe they just assume that Western people pull everything out of their ass as well. There's a fundamental problem with what is alright and accepted in the subreddit, and while I pointed at the more vocal opinions, it's not like the more moderate opinions are much better. Just as a final example here, I had my fair share of discussions with Alex, and he is in my opinion a more level-grounded and mature member of the sub. I don't really agree often with him, but I can respect his opinion because it's not taking a piss on people. He voices his concerns without attempting to humiliate other people, which is more than alright. That way of speaking is really rare on our Turkey, but much appreciated by my side, regardless of me agreeing or disagreeing on him. Yet even he doesn't understand that the sub overblows a tiny minority among Almancıs as if it's a general problem. People don't like Almancıs, only the ones that are loud. And likewise, people don't really hate their people, only dislike the ones that are loud. Yet you don't see Almancıs going on a rampage because the minority among the Turkish people are incels.